All right, and welcome everyone to another edition of the Brown Machismo Show. I'm your host, Brown Machismo, aka the National Treasure of America, and I am very excited for tonight's episode. We have a guest who I don't think a lot of you really know all that well, and I, for one, don't know him all that well either, but of the interactions that I've known and had with him, I'm very excited to introduce Dillon, aka I Super Salamander, who's someone who has joined us from the Overwatch Syndicate Discord. So before we get into that, let's do a little housekeeping before we get into the interview. Let's see what's going on in the world today. We're getting some snow this week. Don't look forward to that. The Royal Rumble was last night. I was unable to defend my title of the Pick'em champion. I went out of my way and I made this gigantic cardboard wrestling title belt, and we had some people come over and we were able to randomly select our numbers, and whoever number you drew, who came out at that number, was going to be your pick to win the Royal Rumble. And I thought I had it locked in. I got Braun Strowman with one of my picks, and I was pretty convinced that I was going to be able to hold on to my championship. But alas, spoiler, the Kingslayer himself, Seth Rollins, was able to win. I don't know why. I guess we're setting up Brock and Seth at WrestleMania. Not quite sure. So I was unable to defend my title. I had a good run. I had it for an entire year. But that was the big event. And the Royal Rumble is a cool thing to have because you don't have to be into wrestling to really enjoy it. It's just this crazy kind of like almost like a playoff game, all-star game, because it's just everyone coming together and for one chance. So it's a very good way to introduce non-wrestling fans into wrestling, because it's just a chaotic mess. It was the original Fortnite. It's the original Battle Royale. Every man for themselves. Other than that, I think we're just ready to go, and I'm excited because Dillon is also. I want to preface this podcast by saying if we run out of questions, we're probably just going to talk about pro wrestling, because that's kind of how me and him really got to know each other. Is I made some kind of offhand comment about wrestling, and he also knew what I was talking about, and that's kind of how we mostly interacted with each other at first. But I'm excited to learn more about him. Dillon seems like a nice guy, and I'm excited to have him on. So let me get me all set up with the interview. Let him know that he is ready to go. And Dillon, are you there?
I am there.
Okay, you are there. You are here. We're all together. So how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good tonight.
That's great.
Doing good.
That's great. You are up in New York.
Yes,
I want to say Binghamton?
I'm not too terribly far. Binghamton, yeah. I'm not too terribly far away from Philly. Like I'm a couple hours out. Like I think 2.5 hours out from where you are.
Okay, cool. So Dillon, before we get too far into things, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, for those who don't really know you all that well?
Yeah. My name's Dillon. I just basically just listen to music and play games most of my day. Very into music, very into like I said, wrestling. You said that. Just hanging out, man.
Well, hanging out's a good thing to be doing, right?
Just enjoying what I got.
So you've come to join the Overwatch Discord, and I don't think I actually know who your main is.
It's because I really don't have one.
Oh.
I historically haven't really had one per se, because I've been a flex for most of the time since I've had the game. So I've got like 250 hours in the game ish.
Wow.
And I think the most, like, I actually think I have the game still on. I can look up my stats right now. Yep, the game is still on. So I can give you actually legitimate numbers. And
Oh, sure, yeah. You can also make it up too if you want. I won't judge you.
Yeah. I know I have about 250 hours in the game. Let's give or take a couple. But as far as like, I can tell you that I don't have more than like 30 hours on any given character. But I can give you an actual here.
Okay. I don't know how many hours I have total, but
okay,
I think I have about 30 on someone. I think I have 30 on some.
Yeah. So I don't even have 30 hours. Here's my breakdown. I have 243 hours in this game.
Okay.
My most played is Soldier 76 with 21. So that's how like there I have at least 2 hours in every hero, and my highest is 21 out of 250 hours. So I really don't main someone, quote unquote. I kind of pride myself on the ability to be able to play whatever character I want to be able to play at any given moment.
I know the way that I had it when I first got it is I only played Mercy because that's who nobody wanted to play, so I started off as a Mercy main.
That's kind of what I did too. I started off as a support main. I didn't main Mercy per se, but I did play Mercy quite a bit. And then Moira came out shortly thereafter, so I started playing Moira a lot too. And then I just and I was like, oh, I like Soldier 76, and I kind of ran with him. And he's been, I guess you'd call Soldier my main, but I call Zenyatta my main.
Ooh, I love Zenyatta.
But yeah, everyone loves Zenyatta. I think he's the most well-loved character in the game. I think everyone loves it. No, I don't know anyone who doesn't like Zenyatta.
So how long have you been playing the game for?
I've been playing it. The first time I ever played Overwatch was at my friend's house. This was pre-Ana. So this was like when, or it might have been, no, maybe it was a little, okay. So it was a little bit after they changed it, so you couldn't have, it was shortly after No Limits Overwatch. So it was that, so in that time frame, it was just after that switch had been made. I'd played it a couple times at my friend's house, and then I was like, yeah, I like this game. Then I got my PlayStation 4 and moved into my sister's, and I was like, playing on PlayStation a lot more. And my friend was always talking about playing it, and he's like, so it's like a kind of like a gift. He bought it for me because he was selling CS:GO skins, and he got one that was really expensive, and he got a bunch of money for it. So he bought me Overwatch. Basically, ever since, and this was not last winter, but the winter before that, or maybe it was last winter. So I've been playing it basically nonstop since I got it then.
Oh, nice. So you've joined the. Were you in O positive, or did you come strictly to?
I was. No, I was in O positive, but I was only there for like not even a month, I think, before
the schism.
We all jumped ship. Yeah, before we all jumped ship.
Speaking of schism, we're joined by Ben Pye, the owner of.
I see that.
Hi,
I see that. I have the chat open, so I can see who comes in and out.
Okay,
hello, Ben.
So you joined. Okay, so you were there from the Overwatch Civil War. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yes, I was there. I witnessed that.
Wow.
That was a very interesting time there because, like, I don't want to name names. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But I was talking to someone that that was there with me. We were talking about it, and she's like, "Oh, like we're gonna make our own thing," and then I got a little worried, and I was like, "Oh no, what if I'm not invited?" But I was like one of the first people to get invited, so I was like, "Yeah, whatever, I'm fine with it."
Have you played with a lot of the? Have you? So I don't have PS4, so I've never actually played with you. Do you play? Have you played with a lot of the folks on there?
Yeah, at least with the people that like I talk to often. Like I think the people I played with the most are probably like Fiona, Paragon. I played with Khan Limo a bit. Just in space, I played with her quite a bit. I played with Stereo quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I mostly play with my friend who on the Discord name's Carlos, who I invited in. Was my first recruit. I play with her a lot mostly because like we're in real life friends. We know each other. Like,
that's nice.
Stuff.
Shout out to Carlo.
Yeah. Oh, Carlos.
Oh, it's Carlo.
Carlos.
I assumed it was a singular, so that's why I called it Carlo.
Yeah, one singular Carlo. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna start calling her now. I'll start calling her Carlo.
All right, so you've been here for a bit, which is great.
Yeah, I've been around enough. I know names at least enough.
Well, that's great because I remember when you first joined, you were a little down in the dumps. So I'm glad. I want to say you're doing better because I haven't seen anything out of you recently.
Yeah, for the most part, at least if whether I'm doing better or I'm able to handle it more is, I guess,
that's fair.
Either one is fine. Yeah, I've been been going to like therapy and stuff, and recently got new antidepressants recently, so they're figuring that out still. So yeah.
Hey man, I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going out there and you're trying to do better because I even though I mentioned earlier that I don't really particularly know all the I'm a professional. I talk for a living. I should know how to say words. Even though I don't particularly know you all that well, it's kind of why I'm glad you're on the show, so we can get a little closer. I was worried about you, so I'm glad you're getting some help.
Yeah, man, I am for the most part.
Yeah.
Just been doing that. That's why I haven't really been I haven't really been contributing to the Discord lately, just because I've been busy with stuff.
That's fair.
Just been life things.
Yeah, we've all been there, so it's understandable. Just know that everyone has your back, and we're glad glad you're here. And
usually when I join places like that Discord, I usually don't last very long. But this one, I've stuck it out just because either from pure stubbornness or because people there actually are cool. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Well, that's great.
That Discord is the first group thing that I've actually kind of dove into.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this previously before, but this is growing up. I had friends in real life too, but I spent a lot of time on AOL Instant Messenger and doing those message boards. This is basically what this is. This is basically just a big message board, which I think is
that's how I explain it to people who don't know what Discord is.
Yeah,
because I speak to my therapist, or I talk to the nurse practitioner at my therapy office from time to time to make sure my meds are going well.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks me about stuff like that, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm on a Discord server," and they look at me weird, and I'm like, "It's like IM. It's like like AOL IM. It's kind of like that type of thing." That's just how I explain it to people that way.
It's a bunch of weirdo strangers on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. That's also why I say it too. I'm just like, "Hey, it's a bunch of strangers on the internet, just hanging out, being strangers on the internet."
It's like, Mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but then I discovered Discord, and it's fine.
Yeah, they also told you wouldn't have a calculator everywhere you went either, and how that worked out.
Oh, there's a bunch of great lies that they've told us. I remember being in middle school when they said that if you go into high school and you don't know cursive, you're not going to get anything accomplished. And I remember the first day of school.
The one that I got, we never use cursive, but they don't even teach cursive anymore. I asked my niece, they don't even teach it anymore. I knew they wouldn't.
Yeah, because they said I remember going into the first day of high school. They were like, if you write in cursive, I'm throwing your paper away. Just type it up. Because my age was a time when they first started having computers at home that had the internet.
Oh yeah.
And so they were just type up your paper, 12-inch. I remember going to typing class because they were just like, this is kind of newish. And Mavis Beacon typing is what taught me how to use a computer.
Mavis Beacon, who actually doesn't exist.
No.
There's not a person who's a typist named Mavis Beacon. That's totally made up.
I don't think people in real life are named Mavis in general.
Not unless they're 85.
No.
No one under the age of 60 is named Mavis. I can fucking guarantee you that.
All right, so you're relatively young, right? You're what, 22?
21.
Wow,
21.
I'm
turning 22 in February. Yeah, I get that a lot, dude.
I'm 31. You're a babe. You're a babe in the woods.
Oh yeah.
Ben Pye also knows what I'm talking about because I used to put covers on the keyboard to teach you where to the home row.
Oh yeah, we went through all that too when I was there, just because it's nice to know. You wouldn't really know about home row unless someone told you about home row. Which fuck if I ever use home row. Home row's not even marked on any of my keyboards anymore. That's all it's only the older ones have the notches on the home row. Mm-hmm. Mine doesn't have that anymore.
Oh, the two little I'm looking at my keyboard right now.
It's F and
J.
Yeah. Or no, my F and J does still have the notches on them. Never mind.
I type. I'm the angry typer. I'm the one. I'm like the hunt and peck. I definitely just use one or two fingers when I do it.
I tend to use at least 4 fingers, but I don't use home row. My hands go all over the place, but it works for me, so it's all right.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I guess we can start delving into some questions. Now that we kind of know who you are a little bit. You're Dillon. You're a baby, and you live in the middle of nowhere, New York.
Yeah, that's accurate. Accurate statement so far.
All right, so one of the first questions you have, I don't know who wrote this one, and they wrote it very silly. So you may know who it is just by the way it's said, but what's your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, I can guarantee you I know who that. I think it was Carlos who knows that one. The favorite Pokemon. Oh shit! I go through this fucking internal dialogue more than I actually care to.
It's a good question.
It's really hard. It's a very good question, and this was easier to answer when I was a kid.
You mean yesterday? Yeah. Is it weird that we'll have a future president who's played Pokemon? or
That's
we'll have a future
actually
president who probably has a favorite Pokemon right now.
that's actually amazing. Actually, I'd imagine that someone's running for president this upcoming election has a favorite Pokemon. I can almost guarantee it.
I bet
Uh,
AOC has a favorite president.
oh yeah,
Or not favorite Pokemon.
yeah.
Because she's just
Oh my
great.
god, like character design wise.
Whatever you want it to be. Whatever your
Well,
parameters are for favorite.
I have like there's two, like the design that I like and like actual usefulness. Character design wise is probably Groudon, just because I like the whole like Godzilla, huge monster Godzilla thing that he has
I'm gonna
going
Google
on.
that because I don't know any of that one.
Groudon is the big red one, big like
Oh, the one from Ruby, right?
the one that got introduced in Ruby, that one, the legendary that
Yeah.
got introduced.
Let's look at this. Let's look at this son of a bitch. Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
cool looking.
I like his design. As far as actual like usefulness as a Pokemon, Gengar, because Gengar can learn just about everything, and he's really good when he does them. He can learn like all the different element punches and shit like that, so he's really useful to have.
He's just one of my favorite general Pokemon.
And he's hilarious, and he's hilarious in the show because he's always fucking with people. Him and Haunter.
I've always loved Gengar. I don't really know any outside the original 151. But one of my absolute favorite Pokemon is Gengar. I remember I remember when that first came out, like I hand raised all my Pokemon. My team back in the day, in my original run, was like Venusaur, Gengar. I also had both games, so I had all three starters. So they were my main core. I had Gengar. I've really enjoyed Poliwrath as a Pokemon, just because it was cool, like a water fighting.
I like him too. Yeah.
Like I don't. Those are the I like those out of the 151. Those are like my two favorite. My favorite one of all time is still Bulbasaur. It's always going to be Bulbasaur. But I remember being really into Gengar, Poliwrath, and Sandshrew. I thought he was just a cutie.
Yeah, I like Sandshrew too. Actually, I mean, because like with Pokemon, it's easier for me to say the ones that I don't like than the ones that I do. Because like for the most part, even the ones that you don't think about often, I still like them.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Pokemon is such a recognizable brand, and it's a part of so many of our childhoods that's like it's hard to say I don't like blah blah blah. Like the only ones that I don't like are from like the past two generations. When I was an adult, when they already had come out.
Oh, like the Keys one and the
oh my god, the Keys
Beyblade.
One. That was when I said ones I don't like. That was the one that popped up in my head. Was the one that was
Vanilla Cone, Vanillion.
Yeah, the ice cream cone one's kind of funny, honestly, because I kind of find it hilarious how they've gotten to the point where they've ran out of animals and ethereal beings, and they have to move into household items.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one that's a literal bag of trash.
Yeah,
I love that one.
Stinky Pete. I don't remember what his name is.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that for the first time. I'm like, oh, they've run out of ideas.
Yeah, they're out of ideas, but they're making it work, so it's all right.
I just remember it's kind of neat. Like we have a 10-year gap in our age, but it's still childhood that we like. My original childhood is like your retro ones, and the ones that when you were a kid. I'm just like I don't know any of these people.
I'm really weird in the way I was raised because when I was raised, I grew up like not very well off. I grew up pretty poor, so I grew up with a lot of the things that like my older sisters grew up with, and my older sisters are more your age. They're closer to your age. Like my oldest sisters, I think she's just turned 30 this year, and my older sister's 29. So like they're way closer in age. Or no, my oldest sister's turned 32, and my older sister. So they're way closer to your age.
Is that the one you live with?
Yeah, the one I live with is the one is 29. Yeah, okay. I live with her. So I grew up with a lot of stuff that they grew up with. And I was also just exposed to everyone I knew from my hometown as far as like Pokemon is concerned. They all, I think by the time I was old enough to know what Pokemon was, we were on like Gen 3, Gen 2 or Gen 3. Okay. But everyone I knew still played, because at that point, yeah, we were on Gen 3 because then they remade Red and Blue. Or they just remade Red and Blue. So we all knew Generation 1. So I had a really weird childhood where like a lot of the things I know too, because they're like hand-me-down stuff to me.
Were you ever into Digimon?
Yes, I was. I remember the Digimon fighting game on the PlayStation
Digimon,
1.
digital monsters. Digimons are the champions. Wah, wah. Yeah.
I didn't watch the show that much, but I do remember Digimon. I do enjoy Digimon.
I always was never super into Digimon. I remember that era, like everything came out like cards, like Card Capture Sakura,
Yep.
Digimon. My childhood was very, I don't know. I was really into Pokemon. I was really into like Power Rangers were really big. Pokemon came out when I was in middle school, like the original, like in like the what was it like the real late '90s. It was
Yeah, it was like the mid.
that was a very like influential time in my life, and I was really into Pokemon. That's when I really started getting into like video games. Like wasn't like Nintendo 64.
Yeah,
was big.
that was when the quote unquote nerd culture started. Was
Yeah.
in like the mid to late '90s. Yeah.
I remember
games started getting more mainstream appeal, and like it was kind of becoming more and more okay to be into like stuff that like was less.
Oh, all the stuff I was into then. I remember my mom telling me that it's like you're never going to get anything with video games, and it's like now I'm trying to scrape by a living by streaming video games and people watching me. She's like, you'll never get anyone to pay you to video games, and it's like, Mom, Ninja just had like 5 million people watch him at once.
Oh yeah,
and I'm way more charming and more inspiring than Ninja.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how just simply the choice of game is. That's why like I kind of shoot myself in the foot from just playing weird ass games because like I love weird ass games. So like I just kind of hope that people like to also watch me play weird ass games.
There's a game you could think of. Someone's probably playing it right now. Like Pun does his weekly PS2 games, and I'm thinking of all the PS2 games that when I was a kid that I really was like, that'd be cool to play. There was this real obscure one that I really like called The Mark of Kree.
Oh yeah, dude! I played the shit out of the demo for the second one.
Yeah. Oh man, PS2 demos.
Those PS2 demo discs. I had one that had Destroy All Humans.
Classic.
Flipnik, which was a pinball game.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Mark of Kree, which was the second. It was the second one.
The Rise of Kasai.
Rise of Kasai, yes, the second one. I played the shit out of the demo fest. Like the first level of that game, I played the hell out of it. And there was another one on that one that I can't remember exactly, but it had most of what it had was. Oh, I also had tips and tricks and cheats for various other games. Like had like Ratchet and Clank 2 cheats and tricks and stuff like that. Really, like that was a very weird, like not a weird, but like a very specific point in time that everyone remembers. Just getting like, because just having a PlayStation, it seemed like they'd send you those discs. Like I was not subscribed to any magazines. I only got the discs.
I remember getting like official PlayStation magazine, and that was the one that was in the sealed wrapping that had the CD in it. That's what I used to always get. Yeah. But there was also the magazine that I actually preferred more than PlayStation magazine was PSM. The unofficial PlayStation magazine. That was always my favorite one to get. If you ever get a chance to
I was subscribed to EGM when I was younger, but they didn't have the discs.
I had EGM as a kid. I've always really liked Game Informer too. I've had a Game Informer subscription for, so they have over 300 issues out now, right? I've probably had a Game Informer subscription for at least 200 of those magazines because I've had it for a long time.
That's super impressive, actually.
I just remember seeing it one day. I'm like, okay, this is a good magazine. Like Andy McNamara. Most of those guys are still on the magazine, which is really impressive. I used to watch X Play when it was on G4 TV.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I love that show. Morgan Webb was the first girl. Like, girls can like video games. That's very cool.
Yeah, and Olivia Munn was the host of one of those shows too. Yeah, I remember.
That was her big break.
But I remember before they went like full video game and went into G4 TV. They were G4 Tech TV.
Yeah, Tech TV.
When they were just general technology and stuff, and they went more into video games. So I remember watching shows like the robot battles and stuff like that.
Oh, not battle bots like the American one. Robot Wars UK.
Robot Wars.
With Robot Wars. Oh man, what was that? Grundhilda, and it was like Roadhog and like Huntilda.
I was probably 4 or 5.
I forgot.
So I don't remember the specifics, but I vividly remember like going down into my basement and watching that on my dad's TV back when we actually had DirecTV on. It was back when it was G4 Tech TV, and then I remember a couple of years later I went back onto it and it was G4 TV, so they had rebranded at some point in time.
Yeah, I remember that transition because it used to be that X Play was called Extended Play, and it was Adam Sessler and Kate something, and then she eventually left and Morgan Webb came in. And it had shows like the screensavers with Martin something. It had Leonard something.
I also vividly remember a specific episode of X Play, a couple of them. There was one where they talked about Postal 2, and they're talking about how fucking insane that game is.
Oh god, Postal.
That game, Postal 2, is fucking weird game.
Ever seen the movie?
And there was another one. No.
Oh, the Postal movie's terrible.
Oh, I bet. So it wasn't the third game. The third game was so bad that the creators of the second game were like, nah, don't play that game, don't buy it. We'll just release an expansion for the second game. 15 years after the game had come out.
Yeah, it was Uwe Boll's. It was one of Uwe Boll's first movies. Was Postal.
That's amazing. But yeah, the other episode I remember was when Final Fantasy X had just come out. They were talking about the Thunder Plains. I don't know if you've ever played Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, of course they did. I played. That was.
Okay, so there was one where they're talking about the Thunder Plains, and there is because there was something you needed to do on the. You had to dodge so many.
You had to dodge 100 lightning bolts to get Lulu's ultimate weapon.
Oh yeah, So no, I didn't do that.
It was bullshit. It was impossible.
But no, they said there was a trick that there was to it. There's a specific trick to it that you need. And they put it up on X Play. They were talking about it, unlike their cheats. Or maybe this was a different show I'm thinking of. This might have been.
Was it the one with the woman with the really short hair, and the intro was her running across the word cheats, and she like fell into the abyss?
Because it was literally called Cheats. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the X Play was the Postal 2. Cheats was the Final Fantasy X episode.
It was the lady. It was a lady with like the I want to talk to your manager haircut.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I remember that. I'll have to look it up eventually, but
there's an episode that there's an episode I vividly remember because it had a Final Fantasy X on it, and I had that game. I was bad at it at the time, but I owned it. And Ninja Gaiden, the first Ninja Gaiden that come out on.
God, Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, it was. I think it was just called Ninja Gaiden. What a game series. I played Ninja Gaiden Black, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. I don't think I need to play this game anymore.
Kristen Adams. Boss, and I was just like, yeah. That's the girl you're thinking of. Oh, she grew her hair out. She looks great.
So that name immediately rang a bell. Like as soon as you said it, that was weird, and I hadn't heard that name in years.
It's kind of amazing how that happens. Like you something obscure you don't remember, and then like one thing just triggers you. Like okay, it's like it unlocks everything.
Yeah, it just all of a sudden bang, just comes back to you. Wow,
all right,
I was really young when that happened.
Ooh,
anyway, yeah.
I accidentally clapped a little too loud. That was a grunt of me moving. The setup of my living room that I do this in is very janky. It's my TV. It's a little TV monitor hooked up to my computer, and I don't have anything to lean on, so I'm leaning into the mic.
Oh,
it's a bad setup.
About janky setups. You want to talk about janky setups, man? You should see mine. My room is like, it's not very big. I give you that much. I can't give you the exact measurements, but it's measurements of not big. So I'm sitting on my bed, which is a futon mattress because of that's my choice of living.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have I just got a new TV, and the problem is the way it was originally set up, it tilts too far forward and it gets that like everything's super dark thing to my viewing angle because I'm so tall. My viewing angle is so high that it makes the pictures all fucked. Mm-hmm. So what I had to do is I don't have a table. So I had to go and get one of our air conditioners and set my TV on top of the air conditioner. So my PlayStation is behind that. So yeah, that's I can feel for you with the weird setup situation going on.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Oh man, I wish I was 6 foot.
Yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be.
I don't know, man. Have you been 5'5" your entire life?
No, but I can tell you when I was 5'5", I didn't hit my head on as many things as I do now.
I would kill things to hit things with my head. Usually, it's.
I'm lucky. I'm really lucky that I have a very hard head because I have murdered my skull on some door frames in my day.
You just I've really you like Bruiser Brody just like going crazy and stuff.
Yeah, right. Because there'll be times where like my brain's like, "You'll clear that," So I'll just keep moving forward at my normal pace,
Yeah.
and then I just smack forward, boom, forehead right in the door frame, with just full speed.
Oh boy.
Just like, oh my god! So give yourself a concussion every time you do it.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever really had that issue in my life. I'm usually I'm usually good at avoiding hitting my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of G4 TV, the gaming for the channel for gamers, and your love of Overwatch and Final Fantasy, what got you into gaming in general?
I remember I've basically my entire life I've had a system of some form or fashion. Like when I was real young, this is out of my memory entirely. But when I lived in a house prior to the house I remember growing up in, so I was really young. My sisters had a Super Nintendo.
Oh, classic.
So I used to play like Donkey Kong and like Super Mario World and stuff like that. Even when I was like, this is so far back I can't even remember. Was playing games. Then as I started to get older and I have more memories of this now. I had what my dad did. He had a PlayStation 1 and he had a Sega Genesis. So I remember like playing like Mortal Kombat on the Genesis. And he had we had Sonic 2, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Mortal Kombat for the Genesis. We also had a couple like a football game and a boxing game that like I don't remember. Super High Impact.
Buster Douglas?
Yes, the Buster Douglas one. Buster Douglas boxing.
I had to rack my brain and be like, what's the exclusive Sega Genesis boxing game they had? And
Yeah,
I think
we
it was
had
Buster
two
Douglas.
actually. We had the Buster Douglas one and we had a different one. That wasn't EA. It was like some weird company. It was some. It might have been like Acclaim or Midway. Super High Impact, Mortal Kombat, Sonic 1, Sonic. And for the PlayStation 1, this was a bigger, like, stop it. We had Final Fantasy 9, which started my Final Fantasy.
That's the one that got me started with it too.
Still my favorite Final Fantasy game to this day.
Yes, it's everyone. I think it's very overlooked. I think 9's still one of my favorite ones too.
Yeah, I think
that's the one that got me into it.
Because it wasn't Final Fantasy 7, therefore it doesn't get the low as it deserves.
At least it wasn't Final Fantasy 8.
I don't think Final Fantasy 8 is bad here. It's not great, but it's not as bad.
9 got me into it because of Zadine. No, because of Vivi. That was my favorite character in that game.
Everyone. We had Final Fantasy 9. We had Metal Gear Solid. Which again, Metal Gear Solid is still probably my single favorite game franchise to stay with. Shame, because Konami has bastardized it.
Yeah, they did.
Oh fuck! I don't know right now. It's gonna make me angry. Cool Borders 2, which fuck that game.
Oh man, Cool Borders.
I don't care what anyone says. I hate Cool Borders, man. I just don't like that game. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth every time I play it. The physics are weird in that game. Oh man, we had, oh my god, what's it called? Tetris Plus, which is the Tetris game where you had the dude, and you had to get him all the way down to the bottom of the screen. So it wasn't like normal Tetris. It actually had like a weird like narrative to it. It was very odd. It was a game by Jellicoe. Very weird game. The 3D Frogger game.
I remember that game. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everyone had that game. That game was like really popular.
I just looked up Tetris Plus and I remember exactly that game.
Yes, it took me forever to fucking remember the name of that game, but yeah, that one was my mom was god tier at that game. Dude. She was insane. It was incredible. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, because of course everyone had that game too.
That's the one that introduced aggro as like a power up.
Yeah, it was the aggression meter.
Aggression, that's what it was. Yeah.
Aggression. And the Spawn game, the 3D Spawn Fighter. It was very
Spawn.
Again, this was a very weird game, and I actually went back and played it as an adult, and it's still weird to this day. You literally, it was 3D. You ran around until you started combat, and then it turns into a 2D fighter. Very weird. It was okay. Like it was an okay game. I think there were two Spawn games on the PlayStation 1. This one was just, I think it was just called Spawn. It wasn't called anything special.
There's also Spawn Pinball, but I think that was a Dreamcast
Mm.
exclusive. No, that was I'm thinking the Kiss Pinball game.
Yeah, Kiss Pinball.
I remember. Oh man,
Those are the ones.
PlayStation. What a bummer the PlayStation Classic is.
Dude, they really fucking dropped the ball on
They
that
really
one.
did.
Like, what they literally should have done is they literally should have done what people have been doing, which is just take a Raspberry Pi and put it in. Just take a Raspberry Pi and put like a fucking mass shit ton of memory in it, and just throw that bitch in the fucking case. It looks like a PlayStation 1. Send out PlayStation 1 controllers. Just put every game in the PlayStation 1 library in that. Man, you could have made so much more money.
It's already like 50% off. And the worst part about it is it gave you the original shock controller. It didn't give you the dual shock. So all those games, you grow up playing with using your thumbs for everything now.
Yeah, so
and now you can't use
game
it.
that used analog, any game that used analog isn't on the system,
Mm-hmm.
and B, even if it was, you couldn't play it.
And
Also the big issue was they put the PAL versions of all the games on it.
And the worst part about it is they had the game that introduced the sticks, Ape Escape. They could have had that on there. They could have worked out a deal with Namco to put that on. That's like the game that made everyone have
That okay,
the
so
controller.
that is the big issue. This is why I don't give Sony as much of a hard time as everyone else is, because I don't think people realize it. Nintendo can do what Nintendo does with their classic systems because they own all the games.
Yeah,
All the games on the Nintendo systems that were put on them were all first-party Nintendo games. Sony games, very few games on PlayStations are Sony first-party games. Most of them are third-party licensed games. So in order to get those onto a system like that, you'd have to go relicense all these games from those companies, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it simply just isn't going to work like Nintendo does. It's a shame because Sony could use the money, but like,
didn't Sony do Legends of Dragoon though? Wasn't that like their big one, their big RPG? Because that's a game that I would go and play again.
Was Legend of Dragoon?
Now
that I think about it, I'm not sure.
I think it's a Sony game. Anyway, Sony. Like, I had a PlayStation. I had a Nintendo 64 originally, and then
I also had Nintendo 64 too. Yeah.
And that was always my big thing. So I want Nintendo to eventually make a 64 classic. I think that'd be even bigger.
Going to. I think it's all but confirmed that they're going to do that.
They should.
Because there's a lot of money on the table for that.
I'd like to find my. I haven't as actually looking at my SNES Classic. It's kind of collecting dust. I haven't really played it as much as I should. But I would love a 64 one. That was my prime era of gaming.
Yep. Legend of Dragoon was a first party game.
I could have put it on there. It's a good game.
And that's very weird they didn't. Because that's also not only is that a good game, it's a very rare game.
Yeah.
Hard to find. At least in America, it's hard to find.
I always wanted. I was briefly into like video game collecting, but then I saw how much like things were. I'm like, I can't afford.
That gets expensive fast, dude. Unless I think the only system that you can really collect for right now that isn't super expensive is PlayStation 2 and Xbox.
Yeah.
Because PlayStation 2 games, because PlayStation 2 was so popular, it's very hard to find quote unquote super rare games.
Did you ever
There's
have
a couple, but there's not many.
Did you ever have the original Xbox?
Not until I was older. I got it when I was in my late teens. I got it because I'm also super into it's not even really retro. I'll consider PlayStation 2 Xbox retro.
No, not yet. One day they will be, but not right now.
Yeah, one day they will, but not yet. I like playing, let's say, older games. I actually have basically turned my PlayStation 3 into an emulation station, which is why I wish I could stream from my PlayStation 3 right now, but I can't. Because I have my PlayStation 3 is don't tell Sony, but I hacked my PlayStation 3.
Sony, if you're listening, I hope you weren't listening a couple minutes ago.
Sony, if you're listening, just don't listen anymore. So basically, I have the ability to download and play whatever game I want. Essentially, I can play. I have RetroArch, which is an emulator on there, so I can emulate basically everything up to Dreamcast. So I can't do Dreamcast, but I can do anything from Dreamcast back. Basically, I can do that. And not except for Nintendo 64. I can't do Nintendo 64 either, which is just a shame. But and I can do PlayStation 1. Some PlayStation 2 games, so some PlayStation 2 games don't emulate very well. and some PSP games, because PSP games also have the same issue, but some don't emulate very well. So that's why I wish I could stream from that. So I kind of cut out the middleman, because I was going to do that for the PS2. I was going to do some PS2 collection games, but I'm not in it for the collection aspect. I'm in it for the I like these games aspect. So I'd rather just have like the games to play.
Are you big into emulating? Like, are you in like an emulator community, or?
I'm not in any type of community. No, kind of. I'm in the PS3 homebrew community, so that kind of counts.
Okay, that's cool.
Because I like the concept of taking something that's as old as the PS3 is now, which came out in 2005. The system came out, so as old as that is now, and giving it use. I feel I like that idea for older systems, because it's like, if you can squeeze life out of it, you might as well squeeze life out of it. Don't just hang it up because it's out of date now. If you have it and you can use it, then use it. You should be able to use it.
I have no idea how any of the homebrewing, anything that works. I see
the PS3
I see people doing it. I'm like, I know now. So do you have one of the old ones with like the Linux update in, or?
I actually have one of the last generations that they had that can actually be hacked. I actually have two PlayStation 3s. I have the quote unquote Slim, which is actually bigger than the original. So I don't know why it's called the Slim. And I have the quote unquote Super Slim, which is actually kind of small, and it has the sliding door on the top of it.
Oh, okay.
The Slim, that was the last generation that they had. They're like, half of the Slims can be hacked and the other half can't. Like, so that's when the dividing line happened. And anything, as it stands right now, the Super Slim can't be hacked, unfortunately. But the Slims can, and all of the original fat ones, or the quote-unquote Spider-Man ones, have like a Spider-Man font on the top of them.
I was just thinking, I have a Spider-Man one in my.
Those all can be hacked, and it's not very difficult. I can walk you through it like no problem. It's not very difficult at all. Basically, you go to a certain link on the browser and on the PlayStation 3, plug in a USB drive, and it just goes. It's very weird. It's through a web exploit, like through the browser.
I have
very interesting.
I have an original 20 gig one, I want to say, somewhere in my closet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've read about these homebrewing things, and I've always thought they were kind of cool, and I just never really had
everything. Well, and plus the problem with me is too, it's like when you do it with like newer systems, you always run the risk of getting your system banned. Like even like my PlayStation 3, technically speaking, if I go online with that thing and Sony sees that, they can ban my system and like basically turn it into make it so it'll boot, but it won't go into the OS. Technically, they usually don't go that overboard unless you're like being a nuisance. Usually they just ban your PSN, which is why I don't use my PlayStation 4 PSN on my PS3 anymore, just as a precaution. Because if they ban your PSN, it bans it on everything. So I lose all of my games. I lose everything. So I don't even run that risk. I don't even have the thing connected to the internet half the time. It's usually just off the internet entirely. So you have like a newer system like a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you can run homebrew on those things, but you shouldn't. You can, but you really shouldn't do it.
I have a Pi somewhere also. I have too many updates. Oh no. I'm too popular on Facebook right now. Stop it. Alright, okay, so just ignore those little dings. Pretend those dings are karma points from God saying, "Hey Dylan, good job by modding PlayStations."
There you go. Yeah,
okay. Right. All right, so we have that's cool. I had no idea you were into homebrew community. That's pretty cool.
I try to be anyway.
Stupid. I gotta unhide my PlayStation. No. So the things went off and Ben thought it was his PC. Okay. I'm gonna have to All right, I can't. Christ! Everyone stop. No. I'm so sorry, everybody.
I actually can't even hear. The ding. So
it's coming from my desktop audio, and I gotta. Here we go. All right, I have it open so now. It won't ding anymore live. This is probably the best run of the Brown Machismo show I've ever had, and it's being ruined by my Facebook Messenger.
That's all
So
right.
every
These things happen.
something about this show, just one thing always goes weird. Like my audio will be looped, or or just something will go wrong, or I'll hit the wrong
That's
button.
that's the that's the charm of the show is that there's always something that happens.
It just lets you know that I'm being like real. I'm genuine. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we actually have your next question in line. This one actually has someone asking with their name. So this is Tori, aka Dongrest.
Ooh.
Still not sure I'm saying their name right because of my disgusting accent. But what's your favorite
Yeah.
book?
Oh man, favorite book.
Are you a book guy?
I am a book guy. I haven't been able to read much recently, which is a shame because I have all of my Witcher books that I need to still read, or most of them anyway. I have all but two. Oh man,
Son of a bitch.
favorite
Hold on.
book.
I'm signing out of Facebook. How do I mute this? Okay, so go ahead while I figure this out behind the scenes.
Yeah, right. Oh man, favorite book. I have to think about this.
This is the first actual genuine question. That's not me asking about
Yeah,
dinosaurs and shit.
yeah. This is the oh man, Don hitting me with a fucking with
Intellectual
the
question.
yeah with the curveballs. Favorite book. See here, okay. I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite, but this is the thing that first comes to mind when I think of like my favorite book. I remember because I'm looking for the rest of these books in the series. I remember finding this super small book in my library in middle school. It's like the size of like it's about the same size, if not a little bit smaller than the average bifold wallet.
Mm.
It's super small. I just saw it in like one of those like those spinning bookcases. I just happened to see it there. It was called Tales of the Otori, and it's about like this kid who gets taken in by uh like the head, like the patriarch of a family in feudal Japan, and his father or whatever gets killed by the patriarch of a different family, so he gets taken in by that same family and turned into like an assassin. So his job is to like where it left off in this book was he was being trained to take out the patriarch of an enemy family.
Mm-hmm.
The title of this book was Across the Nightingale Floor, and that's a very poignant term because the patriarch of that family had a thing in his house called quote unquote the Nightingale Floor, which was specifically rigged to make a bunch of noise if you walked across it. So if he's sleeping, he'd hear it, so he couldn't have assassins sneak up on him. His bed was like in the middle of the room, and his whole room was covered in this Nightingale Floor, so he could hear it if you walked across it, and he'd wake up and be able to fight back. And so like they were training him. They had like an exact copy of the Nightingale Floor, and they were training him how to walk on it without making any noise, so he could assassinate the dude. And like I've been looking for the rest of the books in the series for a long time, and I haven't been able to find them at all. But that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of like my favorite book. But I don't know if that's necessarily my favorite. It's just the first one that came.
Is that? Are you saying that you can't find them physically, or you don't know what they are?
I can't find them physically. Like I
Oh,
can't find a place to like buy them.
not even like.
Maybe now that the internet is better than
Mm.
it was when I was that age, that I could probably find them now. But then I couldn't find them. Like I could find that they existed, that they were written, but I couldn't find like anywhere to get them or anything like that. And I asked the librarian at my library, and she said no, can't find them anywhere because they used to be able to get books from like all the local libraries and have them bring them in. And you could rent them out, but like none of the local libraries had them. So I was just like, no, well, that sucks. Like,
I found one
I'm
on
never
Amazon.
gonna know how the story ends. Yeah, that's why now that Amazon and stuff like that exists, I could probably find them now.
I have a book
somewhere.
like that. I don't know if they had them when you were in school, but the Scholastic Book Fairs.
Oh yeah, I remember this classic. The first
Like
one,
I mean, like
love
the
those
real
things.
big ones where they like book the library for
Oh
like a
yeah,
week.
and like the gym, like to fill up the whole gym. Yeah,
And they had where like they had the little magazines that were the paper that was so thin.
Yep. I hated those
The
things.
paper was so crinkly. Yeah, I had a book series
Yeah.
like that. It was the I don't man. I keep meaning to go onto Reddit and going to like tip of my tongue and just typing in all that I can remember, see if anybody knows the series. But it's a book about this kid where there's like a tower, and
Mm-hmm.
it was this guy. It was like this like classic like young adult post-apocalyptic everything, but it came with a CD, and the
Mm-hmm.
CD had I feel like it had Spiders by System of a Down on it, and another like kind of, it was in that like early years of like metal hip hop, and it was on a
Yeah, like
CD and it came with
the
it.
new
Yeah,
metal type.
it wasn't even
Yeah.
new. It was even worse than new metal. But they had the book had like this kind of like mask on the front of it,
Uh-huh.
and it was. I had finished all the Animorphs, so I was looking for something new to read, and my
Yeah.
mom bought it for
Yeah.
me, and I loved it. But I never read any more of the series, and I keep meaning to go, like I said, going onto tip of my tongue, the subreddit, and seeing if anybody in the
Yeah.
world knows what it is. I
I
might,
I
you know what? I think it inspired
I
me to look
kind
for
of
that
have a
tonight. I'm
similar.
gonna keep looking for it. I hope you
Yeah.
find yours, and I want to find my book now.
I hope I find mine too. I actually have a similar thing to that too, where it's there's a book called The Alchemist that was really good. It's about like Nicholas Flamel and like all that, like his life and stuff. Like these two kids are like no Nicholas Flamel and shit like that. It's really interesting.
Oh,
It's
do I
really
turn
cool.
all these messages off? Oh god, these desktop notifications.
Yeah, they're killing you tonight.
They really
Jesus.
are. And now that I'm reading the messages, I'm like, oh no, I hope everything's all right. Oh Christ.
Oh yeah, of course. So whenever you get that many messages, you're like, your first thought is like, oh god.
Yeah.
There's a train accident that hit an airplane.
Oh boy. And somehow the airplane was in the sky when it hit. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Your first reaction is like something terrible has happened, but never is. It's never that.
I'll make sure after this to reach out to him and be like, hey, hope everything's okay.
So doing my shows, being famous on the internet.
I'm trying to build my social media empire.
Yeah.
All
So I
right.
think that's what I can think of my favorite books. I mean, and now, like I said, I've been reading. Like I love the Witcher series, and I've been reading. Like I'm reading the Witcher books right now because I played the game, the third one, which is a really good game. If you haven't played it, really highly recommend it.
I keep seeing like the ultimate collections of them for like when they're on sale for like $20, and I want to sit down and play it.
You get it. You get it for $20. That is a fucking.
Okay.
Because I paid full price for the game and for the DLCs, and I would absolutely do it again if I had the chance.
I had it on my PS4. My buddy let me borrow it, and I just sat there for like 2 months, and I was like, I'll never get to it.
Even playing just the base game without the DLCs, I'd say it's 100% worth it.
I played Witcher 2, and I didn't like it.
The Witcher 3 streamlines the game very much.
Okay.
And I think it does a better job of making it so you don't have to play the games before it. Because I think Witcher 1 and 2 are more connected. Mm-hmm. Not to say that Witcher 3 is its own game. It is connected to the other two. But its narrative is less dependent on you knowing stuff that happened in the previous two games. So you can go right into it. Like I had no idea The Witcher was a book series or anything.
Yeah, Geralt of Rivia or whatever. Geraldo.
Yeah.
Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, Geralt. Like I had no idea. Like I knew the other two games existed and I had seen them, but I didn't know anything else about it. And then I got the books. I got the game, and then I heard about the books, so I bought some of the books. And like I'm a huge fan of The Witcher. I think that the games are worth playing in my opinion, and the books are worth reading. But like I think The Witcher is one of those games where it's obviously the main storyline is long, but it's as long or as short as you want it to be. Like you can plow through the whole game, mostly. You don't really have to do anything extra for the most part. You have to do a couple extra things here and there to kind of level up and grind, but it's really like you can just play through the main storyline and still have a great game that was worth the money you paid for it, easily. That's what I did my first playthrough. I didn't do hardly any of the extra shit, and I still I love that game. Loved it. I've played it through 3 times. I think it was my third most played game last year according to PlayStation. So it's a very, very good game.
Can I just say I'm a little surprised you're a book guy? Don't think that as an offense. I just didn't see you as being a book guy.
Most people my age aren't.
No.
So it's like I said, I'm a weird person, man. There's a lot going on. A lot going on in there.
All right, so I fixed my notifications. So I'm looking at my little thing blinking, and it turns out it was overwriting all of my notification blockers, and it was just Google Chrome notifying me that I had messages. So I turned all that off. So sorry to everyone for those little bleeps.
It's chroming things up out there. Being Chrome. Being
annoying. That's Chrome. When in Chrome.
Yeah. Do as the Chromans do.
All right, so the next kind of leads into the next question that you have. You're talking about this being your third most played game. What was your game of the year for 2018?
Monster Hunter.
I see a lot of people choosing that, and I love God of War and Red Dead Redemption. It's a shame that I played Monster Hunter like 8 months ago, because that probably would have been my game of the year too.
Hmm.
I love that game.
I literally have 150 hours in that game right now, and I'm still playing it. I'm not even halfway done with it, and I have 150 hours in it, and I'm just like, my God, this game is fucking like I was watching one of my favorite streamers play it because he went through a kick of it too, and he's playing and he's like, man, this game sucks, and he's like, there's not enough time in the day to play this game. This game sucks. This just, dude, it's like once you like, at least for me, like that type of game is like the exact type of game that I'm into.
Mhm.
So it's just like that game just fucking pulls me in every time I play it. I'm just like, oh man, I just don't want to stop playing it, man. Like I had to do it today. Like I was playing it earlier, doing some catch up stuff. I should have done ages ago, never did. And I was playing. And my friends like, you want to play some comp? And there was a voice in my head that was like, don't even respond to that message. Just keep playing Monster Hunter all day. And I was like, no, man, I got to play comp with my friends.
Are you playing that with anybody? Are you playing Monster Hunter with a group or?
Uh, yeah, my friend Carlos in the Discord has it. And my friend, a personal friend of mine, Seamus, also owns it.
Okay.
He just bought it though, so I'm kind of helping him out through it. This, to me, I'm not a Monster Hunter veteran per se, but I have played past entries. So I kind of knew what I was doing. So when we all got the game, I kind of was like I answered all the questions that they had. Like my friend, I'll say Carly. I'll start calling her by real name, Carly. She doesn't care. I know she doesn't. She she'd have a bunch of questions, or I'd have to help her out with something, which I'm more than happy to. I love playing the game. I don't care. Just like we can do whatever the fuck we want. I still playing the game, and then I'm doing the exact same thing with my friend Shannon because he just bought it like last week. So.
What's your
Yeah.
build? What's your weapon of choice?
All of them. Like there's a point in time where I think I've used every weapon in that game at this point. So, but that's why it's taking up so much of my time, is because I have a build for basically every weapon I own. So like, I have armors and gems and decorations and all that shit for every weapon that I have, and I have like a fully upgraded dual blades. I have a fully upgraded insect glaive. I have an almost fully upgraded hammer. I have an almost fully upgraded charge blade. So I have everything. I have it all, man.
When I was really like knee deep into it, I was a longsword.
The longsword is a really good weapon. I love
It's
the
so
longsword.
much fun. I felt so great with it.
Love
Just
the
everything.
longsword.
I tried to do the hammer, and I tried to do I tried to do charge blade. Wasn't great at it. I tried to
Charge blade is
do
very
shield,
intricate.
but I did something about the longsword that made the most sense to me. I remember the first time I took
long-
Brigante down with the longsword, and I was like, "This is the
because the
best thing I've ever been
longsword-
able to do."
The longsword is actually considered a quote unquote top tier weapon.
Really?
I don't like tier lists in Monster Hunter because all of the weapons are viable if you play them right.
Yeah.
But it's quote unquote tops tier because it has huge range and it's basically capable of self buffing itself. So it's just because the way you can do it is you can buff it to the point where it almost never bounces and does a shit ton of damage. So it's considered quote unquote top tier, and you don't have to actually expend anything to do it. You just kind of keep hitting them, and it'll be buffed. The same thing with dual blades. It's also you can hit a button, and all of a sudden you're buffed. So the hammer is really fun, and is really good, but you have to be really good at the game in order to be really good at the hammer, because you have to be so in the monster's face the whole time.
Yeah.
Because you have to be like so close. And all of the animations have such a long cooldown. So you spend so much time wide open. You have to really know the monsters you're hunting in order for that to.
I only use the hammer for anything with like really heavy armor, like the one that looks like Jay Leno. That's the only one. Yeah, the other one too. The one in like the
Radabon.
Yeah.
Radabon and Aragon. Yeah.
The Jay Leno monsters.
Those guys are actually the Jay Leno monsters. Those guys are very hammer susceptible. That's the word I'm looking for. Susceptible.
I was super into that game for the longest time, and then I have this thing that I do with like almost everything where I just obsessively play something and then I never touch it again. So like I played that game for hours, and then I'm just like, okay,
kind
I'll
of
never
what
play it
I
again.
do. That's kind of what I do too, except for Monster Hunter. I love playing that game so much, man. I love it. Really good.
All right, so we have gone through your favorite game, your books, and we're finally getting to some questions that I'm excited about because it relates to my favorite thing in the world. I'm talking about some good old-fashioned pro wrestling. And I can see everyone turning it off the moment I mention pro wrestling.
And the viewer count just disappears.
So, did you watch the Royal Rumble last night?
I did not. I did not watch the Rumble.
Have you heard about what happened?
I only know what you said in the intro, which was that Rollins won.
So Rollins won the men's Royal Rumble, and Becky Lynch won the women's Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. But Becky earlier in the night had lost to Asuka. So Asuka is the women's champ. Ronda beats Sasha to keep the women's champ for Raw. Then Becky demanded she come into the women's Rumble, and she won. So I don't know if they're setting up Ronda Becky at WrestleMania or what, but it was probably one of the better pay-per-views they had. They had AJ Styles lost to Daniel Bryan. Eric Rowan came back out of nowhere and is now a part of the Daniel Bryan's fan club, which I think is kind of cool.
Wasn't Rowan a part of Bludgeon Brothers?
Yeah, but then Rowan got hurt. He tore his tricep, and then Luke's just like disappeared, and now Luke. And what's cool too is he didn't come in the jumpsuit. He came in like normal clothing. He was in blue jeans and weird. A flannel. He looked like a bigger Daniel Bryan.
I don't like that. The Bludgeon Brothers were fine.
I liked the name the Bludgeon Brothers, but I thought that their tag team was dumb. Only because I like Luke Harper by himself. But I'm kind of excited to see if we're going to get. They're going to recruit him.
Those guys both improved like a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Like Luke Harper got jacked. He lost so much weight.
Because I remember I saw him when he first came around. I've always liked Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. I always thought the Wyatt family was an awesome stable. They just sucked at booking them.
Oh, they really did.
And like I hadn't seen Luke Harper around at all, and then I saw him come back with Rowan as the Bludgeon Brothers, and I was like, he looks like a totally different fucking guy.
Yeah.
Like, he lost so much weight. He looked good.
He was looking real jacked, baby.
They're like how the fuck, like, dude, the matches they put on with like the New Day, those guys they're really good now. Like, why bother? Why does the WWE? This is why I don't watch the fucking WWE anymore. Why do they do shit like this?
Oh no, I've unleashed them.
What is the point? What is the reasoning behind fucking breaking up the Bludgeon Brothers for no reason? To bring Eric Rowan back as a fucking jobber to fucking sit in Daniel Bryan's shadow like he did with Bray? When he's improved?
Did you know that Eric Rowan is an NWJP alumni?
I did not.
Yeah, he fought back in that was back in the era before New Japan got like popular again. It was during like Nakamura's first run where he wasn't strong style yet. But Rowan went over as like a Viking.
It was the Dark Ages. Yeah. It was the Dark Ages of the
it was them relying. It was Tanahashi hadn't become a thing yet. So they were still using.
This was they were still kind of riding like the Inoki train still, we're.
It was Nagata like out of his prime, but still really good. It was when Kojima and Tenzin.
Yeah, so this was the three. This was just before Tanahashi became the ace.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because it went off where it was the Three Musketeers, and then it was the Three Pillars, and then it became like Chrono, Muda. They were really big in like the the mid '90s, and then it was Kojima and Tenzin. And then it started to become. Then the next three came in. It was supposed to be Nakamura, Tanahashi,
and
Taka. Oh, who's the guy that has like a no brain now? That guy that went like blind from all those headbutts. Oh shit! Not Sakuraba. Shibata. Yeah. Then Shibata left, and it was just Tanahashi.
And Shibata got hurt, and then Shinsuke went to WWE, and so left just Tanahashi by himself.
Yeah, but
which I think, word on the street is Shinsuke's thinking about coming back. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say he's ever gonna phone anything in because he's still my favorite wrestler of all time. But he's so wasted. As Knock America is his new gimmick now because he's the U.S. champ.
He is absolutely 100% wasted.
He was on the pre-show for the Royal Rumble. He won last year.
He was main eventing Mania.
Yeah.
Think about that.
And now
That's how wasted he's become. He's pre-showing the Rumble when he just main evented Mania not that long ago. So let's think about this for a minute. AJ Styles and Nakamura had a match at Wrestle Kingdom 9 before AJ Styles left to come to WWE. That match is considered by some to be one of the greatest matches of all time. Yes. Better than Omega and Okada.
Yes.
They had those same two guys, main event, Mania, the most popular wrestling show in the world. It was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was just Nakamura punch him in the dick.
How does the WWE continue to do this to themselves? And how do they keep doing this themselves and still maintain a viewer base? It's incredible to me. It's incredible to me how they're doing this, and that's why I think they're kind of they might be a little scared that New Japan's moving in on.
And AEW's coming in. Ring of Honor's probably its healthiest in a while.
Dude, AEW is going to poach a lot of talent from both companies. If all the promises that Cody has made are true, and this is all, he's not blowing everyone's ass, that's going to poach a lot of talent just really because of all the promises he's making. That they're going to be paid well, that they're going to have coverage.
Yeah,
they're going to be unionized.
They're going to be a union? Holy moly.
They're going to be employed in the union. And he said that anyone who gets hurt in their ring, when they work for them permanently or not, will be covered. But if any of these are true, that's not all, but if any of them are true, then they're going to poach a shit ton of talent from both companies.
What's funny too is Jericho just tweeted out, "Hey WWE and Ring of Honor, thank you for pushing all of your mid carders, but we don't need them all."
Well, there's that too. Is everyone who's in the mid card WWE is going to want to come to AEW, which is interesting.
I like the revival. I kind of hope they go out and they go join. They finally go face the Young Bucks.
That's the plan. That's the story I heard. Yeah. Was that they're going to leave because they're tired of being treated like shit in WWE, which I don't blame them.
Which is fair.
And like I understand that, like the WWE is like they pay everyone at this point in time they pay the most because they're the most popular and all that, but it's like, yeah, but at what cost? They work for like 320 days a fucking year.
Yeah.
So like that's why these guys get hurt all the time. Like you don't hear about these kind of injuries happening in New Japan or Ring of Honor or any of the other companies. It only happens in WWE because they're working like almost every day, which is not sustainable.
Yeah, New Japan does the tours where they're like 5 matches in like 4 days, but then they have time off.
They do the tours, but that's for like a month. But WWE is doing that type of stuff every week. It's every day. You're either traveling or you're working. It's just not sustainable. That's why like people talk about how short. Like you think about it, and people are like, oh man, wrestling careers are so short. But then you look at New Japan, and you have guys like Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata who've been working since like the mid '90s. Shit, dude, fucking Minoru Suzuki, even before he was a wrestler, he created Pancrase, which is kickboxing. So he's been legitimately fighting in MMA, and then became a wrestler, and is still wrestling in 2019.
Yeah.
That's how little wear and tear the Japanese guys get because they're not working all. So they have a chance to recuperate. Yeah, they might not be getting paid as much as WWE, but they don't have to worry about paying their medical bills off that much. So it's like it's crazy, man. It's not good. It's not good for their bodies or their brains.
Speaking of injuries, that was just a segue to get into the next topic question. I actually didn't have anything related to injuries. I lost track of train of thought. But we are talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is the biggest company, New Japan Pro Wrestling in Japan, the WWE here in America. So how old were you when you first started getting into wrestling? Because I know my origin story. It was like I was like 5 first time I saw it, and I'm like, this is the most important thing I've ever seen in my life. So what got you into pro wrestling?
That's a very weird question. very interesting question too, because I can't remember. But I do vaguely remember, but I don't know why I continued to watch. That's
Mm-hmm.
because when I was young, it was kind of the tail end of the Attitude Era. So I think by the time I remember watching wrestling, Stone Cold had already retired,
Yeah, because of his
and The
spine.
Rock was because of his neck, and The Rock was on his way out.
Yeah.
So
He was so
I
skinny in
don't.
those days, too.
Oh yeah, he's compared now. Then to now, he's
Yeah.
fucking he's like a totally different guy now. Um, so I don't really know exactly what kept me coming. I think it was because there was around the time that John Cena started to get popular.
I have no recollection of the TNA days. Not
See,
TNA, TNN. That's when I stopped watching it. I was really into it from like the Attitude Era, and then when they got to TNN, like Cena and like Brad. I don't remember anything about Bradshaw. I don't remember anything about like that era.
I always knew Bradshaw was a fucking jadrule, and I hated him then. And then it came out that he was a douchebag, and I was like, oh well, I guess I was right to not like him because I always, even as a person, I didn't like him. And then it came out that he was a fucking bully and a piece of shit backstage, and I was like, oh well, I guess that makes sense then.
And then Joe Styles beat him up.
Oh my god, still the greatest story in fucking pro wrestling history. Joey Styles beat the shit out of JBL.
Oh my god!
I love Joey Styles. I wish I'd have him back on fucking WWE from time to time.
I think he's a big like right wing conservative now, so I'm kind of glad he's not on.
That's not what I heard.
I heard that he is very conservative and he's like has like a lot of opinions on things, and I'm like, we'll have to discuss this off the air. I'll have to look it up. I don't want to throw fake news out there, but that's the last thing I heard.
He's always struck me as a guy who'd keep his professional career and his personal life separate.
Yeah,
which I can respect that. But yeah, it's funny you bring up TNA because I actually have more fond memories of watching TNA than I do WWE.
Interesting.
I've always kind of not liked WWE because I grew up during the Russo days, and then
because bro, we're gonna book you like this, bro.
Fucking Christ, dude!
Fucking
now that
Russo.
I know more about the Russo days, I'm like, God, fucking, I hate him now. I really don't like him now. And then I just remember coming into like watching TNA. I watched TNA one day, and I watched a really good match. The first match I watched, a really good match. I can't remember exactly who was in it, but I do remember that AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels were in it. It was a four-way match.
Oh, was it their famous one with Samoa Joe, the 3-way dance one?
No, it wasn't that one.
The most famous match in TNA history.
Which, for good reason.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe are three fantastic workers. No, it's Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles. It was an X Division match.
Oh, okay.
I want to say...
Was it Kazarian?
No, it was when it wasn't, he wasn't a gimmick, he was just Christopher. I want to say that it was... This is a good match. If this is correct, and I'm remembering this correctly, it was AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Consequences, Creed, and Jay Lethal. Which that ain't a bad fucking lineup.
No, it's pretty good.
And it was a 4-way for the X Division champ. I can't remember who was the X Division champ at that time. It was a 4-way for like the number 1 contenders match. It might have been Loki.
Oh man, fuck Loki.
Well, fuck him, but he's a good worker.
Yeah, he just sucks.
He's a piece of shit behind the scenes, but he's a good worker. And that's before I knew anything about him. It might have been, yeah, I think it was before.
It's before we broke kayfabe. We were young and innocent.
Yeah. So back when I was young, kayfabe was dying.
I remember TNA like being the alternative. I was like, because I never watched TNA when it was in the fairgrounds, but I always remember hearing about it because it used to be that they had weekly pay-per-views you'd buy, and then it was on like Fox Sports Go, like at random times during the week, and I'd always watch it.
Yeah,
and it was always really weird.
I watched it during the Spike era when they were on Spike.
Yeah.
Before
Hulk Hogan arrives.
Early days. Yes. I remember when Hulk Hogan arrived. That was when I stopped watching.
I remember the day that like Booker T joined and like Kurt Angle joined. I'm like, wow, this could be really really cool. Had a lot of great stuff on there.
Man, if they had such a good thing going at that point in time that had they maintained that momentum, we would have had an actual legitimate domestic like option besides WWE.
They shouldn't have
Because the
gone
whole
live on Mondays.
well that, and they shouldn't have fucking hired fucking Russo.
Yeah.
Listen to Cornette. Listen to Cornette's shoots about it.
Oh, I love Cornette.
Had they,
I don't agree with all his opinions, but he's great.
Most of his opinions, it's a little man yells at cloud, but
Yeah.
he has good points a lot of the time where it's like, had they just stuck with Dutch Mantel and Jeff Jarrett, they would have been fine.
Oh, Jeff
Because
Jarrett.
Dutch Mantel knew, well, Jeff Jarrett can say what he wants, but he swindled his way. He knows how to, he swindled his Vince out of money to start TNA, and two, he fucking, he could book. Like, the reason why Jim Cornette got the job in TNA was because Jim Cornette's first boss was Jarrett's dad.
Yeah, Jerry Jarrett.
So the Jerry Jarrett. So the Jarretts can book wrestling, and so can Dutch Mantel.
Oh, Dirty Dutch was great.
If they just would have not let Dixie Carter hire Vince Russo, then they would have been fine. Because it was that point, that was the turning point in which that fucking TNA shot themselves in the foot.
Their new setup's really good too. They did a good job hiring Don Callis and Scott D'Amore back. They are doing a lot of like really innovative things. They've signed a lot of really good talent. They have like Rich Swann, Brian Cage, Tessa Blanchard. They have a really good core, and they're doing all their stuff in Canada and over in England. And they did a show in Mexico.
Yeah,
and what they're doing now with their Twitch app is awesome. Do you know what you can do with the new Twitch thing they do on Fridays? If you download their source audio and put it through OBS, you can do your own commentary over it.
No shit. They let you do that?
They just ask that you delete the video so you have no video on demand. But if you put their on there, they'll put their hashtag on there and people can listen to you talk over their show. Which I think is
very interesting.
If I ever got the courage to do it, I would love to do pro wrestling commentary for them. Because that's kind of like one of my dream jobs, to be like a pro wrestling announcer.
Yeah.
And I'd love to try it one day.
I kind of like how the kind of aesthetic they have, because they're kind of on par with NXT.
Yeah, very, very intimate.
It's kind of got that. It's got that like small crowd indie show vibe, but it's televised. So I actually I like the thing, like people. You go on their YouTube channel, you look at the YouTube comments, people heckle them about it, but it's like it's actually really, it's good for them. It's a good chance to reset, because yeah, they were there for a while. They were legitimately a laughingstock of the wrestling community, but now they're not. Like now they're respectable. I mean, and you think of some of the people that came from Impact the last couple of years. Fucking EC, like people like EC3.
Yeah, he's gone to the main roster soon, I think.
He went from WWE's developmental to TNA.
Bateman.
Oh my god, yeah. There's a lot of people who went from WWE's developmental to elsewhere and became stars. Imagine that. And so it's like, they know what they're doing. Like, they're not specifically the greatest wrestling company or anything like that, but they can still put on a good show. And there are still a couple of guys that used to wrestle when I used to watch that still wrestle there. That I like. People like Homicide and stuff like that.
Yeah, Don Callis and Scott D'Amore have that company going in the right direction. I'm really excited for the future of TNA. It's no longer LOL Impact. It's now like good, solid wrestling. And it's fun to watch it again. They just lost Abyss and they just lost Sanjay Dutt, which is kind of a bummer. But they signed the guys from Lucha Underground. So they have the Lucha Brothers. They have, like I said, Tessa Blanchard, who is going to be a star because she was on. I'm surprised that WWE didn't grab her right away for their women's division. They let her walk after the tournament, and now she's the headliner over there. Who else have they got? They have this young guy named Killer Cross. That dude's going to be really good.
Do they have Pentagon?
Yeah, they have Pentagon, and they have Ray Phoenix.
Wow.
So they can still do the Lucha Underground stuff, but they brought over
so they
a lot of
basically
Lucha
have
guys.
Everybody except for Prince Puma, because Prince Puma's Ricochet.
Yeah.
So they basically have like the whole squad there.
PWG they lost Ricochet, so they brought in Puma King. They're bringing a lot of guys from Mexico, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's also the thing with WWE is they don't like the Lucha guys, which is really weird. considering how they're two of their well, first of all, the first inductee to the Hall of Fame was a lucha guy, and one of the most popular wrestlers in WWE history was also a lucha guy. So it's like,
Mhm.
why do they not like lucha guys?
I remember during the Attitude Era, during the Monday Night Wars, they had WCW ran from 8:05 to 9:05 exclusively cruiserweight wrestling, and I would
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
only that. But then at 9 o'clock, once the cruiserweights are over, switching over to Raw. Like I didn't give two
And
shits
that's
about the Steiners or Goldberg or anybody or Hogan. I wanted to watch guys like Cyclope, Psychosis, Mysterio, Guerrero,
Jericho,
Jericho. I wanted to watch them because they were awesome, and they didn't
Malenko.
have that over in WWE. I wanted to watch the
No.
cruiserweights.
They still barely do because 205 Live is a fucking abortion of a show.
Yeah, it's not great.
Fucking
The wrestling's amazing, and so you don't care about it.
Well, yeah, well, of course the wrestling's going to be great. The cruiserweight wrestling is always great.
Uh-huh.
That's what got WCW over, and that's what got ECW over. Was that the early days of ECW was they had people like Guerrero and Malenko,
Hoovy
people like
juice.
that. Yeah, they bring the lucha guys in from time to time. They bring the Japanese guys in from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
They'd always bring those guys in.
They had Nagata. They had Ultimo Dragon. They brought over
Jushin Thunder Liger.
Jushin Thunder Liger. I love that guy.
Everyone loves Thunder Liger, man. Tiger Mask.
Liger. Do. Yeah.
Did you know? I didn't know this until the other day, but did you know that as far as Thunder Liger and Tiger Mask, that the mangas and animes weren't made for the wrestlers were made for the mangas and animes?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought the wrestlers came first, and then they did the mangas and stuff after that.
They were like theme characters that just became legends.
Yeah, because I saw a picture of Thunder Liger with the creator of the Thunder Liger comic, and someone had said that in the comment section, and I was like, oh wow, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, Tiger Mask. When they rebooted the anime, they brought in a new character, Tiger Mask Black.
Oh yeah, Black Mask. I think Black Tiger. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not Cedric Alexander. Who's the other? ACH. I think no. Was it ACH? Was Tiger Black? Because there's Black Mask Tiger and there's also Dark Tiger Mask.
Yeah, well, because they've always had those guys were always there, but they weren't popular until like recently. I actually want to watch Tiger Mask anime. I have to find a decent sub of it.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about it, but yeah.
I also want to see. I have to find a version of My Dad's a Heel Wrestler that I can watch at some point in time.
They did a taping of that at Fantastico the other day.
Yeah, they did the actual like the characters, the wrestle instead of, because I heard it was actually really cool because Tanahashi was the heel.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see Tanahashi.
And I think Makabe was the good guy.
Makabe and Okada were the good guys, and it was Tanahashi and oh my god.
Oh, it was Taguchi.
Yeah, Taguchi.
He might be one of my favorite wrestlers right now because he's so ridiculous.
Was he the guy at Wrestle Kingdom who came out in the rugby gear?
Yes.
Okay. So I do know
his gimmick is he's the coach. He's the captain.
Okay.
So he's the coach at Taguchi Japan.
Dude, that team that they had at that fucking 4-man tag match it was Toro, it was Togi Makabe, it was Taguchi and somebody else, and I was like, this is the fucking greatest team I've ever seen in my life. God, I love Makabe. I think he's one of the fucking greatest.
Unchained Gorilla, I love him.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? They started doing this in English now, which I think is about fucking time. Pardon my French, but they're starting to do retellings of stuff in English. So it told you the history of Chaos. It told you the history of Bullet Club.
Yes.
And Kevin Kelly does it, and they're really good.
I watched the first 2 Chaos episodes. Yeah.
And they talked about the origin of Great Bash Heel, which I didn't know about, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I saw one for they did kind of like a test run one a while ago, like last year, for Suzuki Gun. And I watched that one. That one was first. The origins of Suzuki Gun. Then I watched the first 2 episodes of the Chaos one. I have to watch the rest of them soon. But what I wish they'd do more I guess there's kind of really no point, but I wish they would do it just because. Um, is to like go back and redub all their matches with English commentary.
They started doing that. They started doing weird like they called them classics, but they were like one of them was like Buff Bagwell versus Scotty Riggs, and they redubbed it in English. I don't know why.
Those guys might have been over in Japan though.
That's true.
A lot of guys that weren't over in America were really over in Japan, i.e. Albert.
I was gonna say Scott Norton. Yeah.
Scott Norton and Albert were way over, way over.
Oh yeah.
In Japan.
What were they? Big Baldo? Was he Baldo there? Prince Albert?
Albert?
Yeah, was he?
No, he was
Great Bernard,
Tenzai.
Jai Bernard.
He was Tenzai.
Well, he's Tenzai in America, but he was
he
Jai
got
Bernard.
over as Tenzai. He got over as Tenzai in Japan, which is insane to me.
I thought he got over as Giant Bernard and they brought him over as Tensai.
Maybe, but either way, he was over both times, which is insane to me. It seems like the Japanese people would not be cool with a white guy imitating a Japanese guy.
He was essentially really John Wayne as Genghis Khan. He was just like white. He just like squinted his eyes the entire time.
Yeah, it was very weird, and it seems like it would not have gotten over in Japan, but it did apparently, which is insane to me. I guess the Japanese people can suspend their disbelief better than we can.
I'm just looking at my viewer count. We actually are holding steady for our pro wrestling talk.
Yeah, I guess it's our smooth jazz voices.
But we've been going at this for about an hour and a half, which is is usually the median for my show that we do. But so we're gonna wrap it up in a little bit. But before we do, I do want to ask you. Who is your current or who is anyone in the past? Who's your favorite wrestler?
Most of my favorite wrestlers are Japan. I can't think of any really that are in WWE. I like.
Think of anybody. It doesn't matter.
I probably. Oh God. So every time I think I have a name, I think of a different name.
That's the beauty of wrestling. You just love so much of it.
Yeah, I mean, my all-time favorite is definitely Stone Cold. How can you not love Stone Cold?
Yeah, Stone Cold's the best.
Stone Cold,
what?
The best. Yeah.
What? If I had to give a favorite wrestler of all time, I have two. They're both from ECW. One is Tommy Dreamer. Yes. Just because he was a dude that just fought no matter what.
He
was always my favorite. And he wished me happy birthday on Twitter once, so I'll always think that's cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
And my all-time favorite wrestler, Jerry Lynn.
Jerry Lynn, gotta love Jerry Lynn, dude. That dude can work his fucking ass off.
And apparently, like, everyone loves him. Have you listened to his podcast?
No.
He has a podcast with Mikey Whipwreck.
Why did I think Jerry Lynn was dead? That's very weird. I thought
Jerry Lynn's very much not dead.
I think I confused him.
Are you thinking of Jerry Flynn?
No, I forgot his fucking name. It was Stone Cold's old partner from WCW, who was in ECW.
Brian Pillman?
Why can't I think of his name? Brian Pillman. I thought it was because I got Jerry Lynn and Brian Pillman confused. That's why.
Jerry Lynn is very much alive, and Brian Pillman died like 20 years ago.
Yeah, and Brian Pillman is very much not alive.
Yeah.
So that was very weird that I got those names confused. Now I know who Jerry Lynn is now. It's the guy who worked with RVD a bunch. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The new effing show.
Yeah. Now we're on. We're on the same page now.
Okay. And the final question that I will ask you before we let you go is, if you had one match to recommend to someone who either does no wrestling or is very kind of like doesn't know anything about it, what is the one match you would tell them to watch and why?
I think I have to break that down by like styles, like because there's very distinct styles when you look at like the different brands. Like you have the WWE style, and then you have like New Japan strong style, and then you have like the ECW cruiserweight stuff. For like the WWE stuff, that one's a little bit harder for me to say because the matches that I like from WWE are very sensationalized, like the Mankind off the Cell shit and stuff like that. Those are like my favorites, so they stick out in my head. But I'd probably say something like, honestly, probably something like Balor versus Rollins before Balor blew his shoulder out.
Mm.
I think that encapsulates a lot of the slower pace stuff that WWE likes to do. Like they have a much slower style of wrestling. For ECW like cruiserweight stuff, I'd say probably be Guerrero versus Malenko.
Oh, the two out of threes match.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
the final one before they left.
Yes, yeah, that one was a great match. And for like the hardcore stuff too, just because it's there. Fuck it, Beulah versus Fonz. This shit's still funny to me.
That's such a bloodbath. If
If
I had to introduce someone to wrestling, any of the Bayley versus Sasha NXT matches, because they're classics.
Those are very good.
Especially the one where Bayley almost died, where she did she tried to do a Hurricane Rana, landed on her head, but then she nailed the poison Hurricane Rana and she won. But the moment that Sasha started stomping on her hand, the broken hand that she had wrapped up and was trying to get to the rope, she started kicking her. That to me is prime women's wrestling. Any of the Gargano takeover matches would be a really good one to introduce people to.
Yeah.
Any of the I want to say Stone Cold and Bret Hart, I think would be one I would introduce people to, because it was like the real beginning of the era. The one with Shamrock as the ref.
I say that too. And that also I think that shows that's an easy way to explain a heel turn
and a face turn.
And a face turn, because it was a double turn.
It was a double turn because Brett was the hero and he got booed.
That's a bit more of a more intricate thing to say to someone. It's like, oh, this is a double turn. They'd be like, what the fuck's a double turn? But you could explain like, oh, because you could say because Brett didn't break the hold, he was the bad guy, and because Stone Cold got messed up but still fought to the end until he passed out, he's the good guy. So it'd be a good way to explain heels and faces to people. That's a very good one. I didn't think of that.
And if you want to show someone just like the silly athleticness of it, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there was a match in Chikara in 2009. It was a 4-way dance between Jigsaw, Kota Ibushi, El Generico, and Nick Jackson from the Young Bucks. And
that sounds like that's a fantastic.
Remind me to send it to you. I'll put it in the sports ball chat.
That is a great match.
I was there. Have you seen it?
No, but I was gonna say for the strong style, my choice for like strong style match, for like to introduce someone to strong style would be I think it was the first time that Ishii went against Makabe with the never openweight champion.
Ishii.
That first
Holy moly.
Ishii versus Makabe was the first New Japan match I ever saw, and I think it's a very good introduction to strong style, obviously. It was for the never openweight champion back when I think it was Makabe had it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my choice for strong style right there.
Mine would be Nakamura Ibushi in Wrestle Kingdom 10. I want to say one of the Wrestle Kingdoms.
It might have been 9 because I think earlier I got it wrong and AJ and Shinsuke was 8, and I think that might have been 9. I think by Wrestle Kingdom 10, Shinsuke was already gone. I could be thinking about this wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was gone by 10.
I'm sure one of our reviewers who was listening, who was into this wrestling stuff, will tell us. But Dillon, I want to thank you for coming on. I learned a lot about you. We had some cool wrestling chat. It's nice being able to talk about wrestling with someone and not alienate everyone. But we'll definitely have to get you back on again. We'll have to do some more wrestling stuff. This is fun.
Absolutely. Or if you have any more questions you want to ask me or anything like that, I'm more than willing to come back.
Do you have anything that you would like to plug?
No, because all of the people that are listening to this already know everything that I pretty much do. So I don't have anything I actually can plug right now.
Well, that's fine.
Unfortunately, I can't shill myself.
All right. Well, I'm gonna tap you out and let you go. But once again, thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure of mine.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Bye, man.
Okay. So that was iSupa. Oh, that was iSupa. That was a pretty good conversation. One thing I forgot to ask him is the origin of his name. So we'll have to be the origin of his gimmick on another episode of the Machismo show. And I'm not going to forget, Jay. This is my legally required shout out to you for being a great dude. But I want to thank everyone who tuned in and listened to another episode of the Machismo show. A little bit of a different one than normal. It was a little more dedicated to some wrestling, just because I I don't have anyone to talk to this about. And Soup is someone who is also a fan of pro wrestling. And who knows, maybe this will be the start of another podcast project where we just talk about our adventures in pro wrestling. But I want to thank everyone who tunes in. I don't have a guest lined up for the next episode. We might change things up. I usually was going for Mondays and Fridays, but I think I want to switch to once a week just because I'm starting to burn through guests pretty quickly. So keep an eye out for when I start having a different release date, probably on Wednesdays. So I'm going to let y'all go. And Ben Pie says he's pretending to understand what is going on, and I appreciate that, Ben Pie. You are a true baby face. No, you're more of a tweener, because you can be a heel, too. Heels are bad guys, if you don't know what that is. So I'm going to let you all go, and I want you all to have a good night, and I'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, everyone.